Fantastic, fantastic. Council, please remember, and staff, to make sure we all work together to turn our microphones on. We will continue to get better. So let's call to order the Thursday, July 14th, 2022 Town Council meeting. As been advertised, all agendas are subject to change to and up until the time of the meeting. So let's start off as always with the Pledge of Allegiance. And we do have a guest. I would love Julie to lead us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Julie. Roll call. Here.
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 Here. I think you're done.
I'm here too.
All right, we got those bloopers now. So let's, Councilmember Dotson is on the way. He should be here at any moment. But we have a quorum, so let's keep moving. Let's go to C, approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
We have first, second.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes of the June 9th, 2022 Town Council meeting. Motion to approve the minutes from the June 2022 minutes as presented.
Move to approve. Second.
Second, move. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes of the July 7th, 2022
One
work
second,
session.
Mayor, I abstain from that. I did not.
I
attend that
apologize.
meeting, so-
I also abstained because I was not here
Oh,
for that meeting.
Hold on. Back up. All right.
Yes. So we have to hold
We have to
until
wait.
Greg.
Table this until Councilmember Dotson gets here.
Move to table. Second. Yeah, done.
We're just moving. All right, I think we can vote on the work session. Minutes of the July 7th work session, motion to approve as presented.
Move as presented. Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So moved. So we're going to go back and when Councilmember Dotson gets here and we'll attack the June 9th Town Council meeting. So our first on our agenda today is we have a presentation and she's going to let everybody know this is the start. This is a conversation about a ferry stop destination assessment presentation from Julie Olberg, Calvert County Tourism. Yep, please do.
Great. All right. Thank you very much, Mayor Benton.
Yeah, hold on one second. I apologize. If you want, never mind, maybe she's ready.
Oh, now you got everybody. No. Good. All right, great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Julie Oberg. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Calvert County, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this evening to tell you about an exciting initiative that Calvert County is partnering with all of the counties in the Chesapeake Bay area. Next slide. 14 counties have applied for a federal grant to do a feasibility study of a tourism-based passenger ferry for the Chesapeake Bay. Our ultimate goal is to have a 40 to 50 person passenger ferry system that would provide an opportunity for residents and tourists to access stops in counties that border the bay. This would further develop and connect existing water trails and attractions, including the greater Chesapeake Loop. And the project will provide an alternative way for people to experience the Bay region, connect travelers by water, and support destination, community economics, and workforce development efforts. Next slide. All right, the ferry could be a great way to travel to a new destination and enjoy being out on the water. There's a couple of examples that are listed here about how people could utilize the ferry. Person could get on the ferry in the Eastern Shore in Somerset County at a stop or an access point, ride the ferry over to Calvert County, spend money on dinner and ice cream, then go maybe stay overnight, pay to stay at a hotel or bed and breakfast, and then ride the ferry back the next day. Or alternatively, someone could get on the ferry in Calvert County and ride the ferry over to a stop or an access point in Somerset County on the eastern shore in the morning, rent a golf cart, tour the area there, get lunch, do some bird watching, and come back home. Next slide, please. Okay, Calvert County has the opportunity to submit potential passenger ferry access points. Basically, a public access point, a dock, a port connected to the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries. Right now, we're just looking for potential stops that we could look at to see if they'd be able to work for a ferry stop. Next slide. So far, there are 14 counties that border the bay, led by the Visit Annapolis and Anne Arundel, that have submitted a grant for $250,000 to do a feasibility study. And the results of this study are going to give our region the framework it needs to understand the capital investment and operational considerations like key routes, shoreside infrastructure, available vessel technologies, scheduling, labor, and ridership associated with the passenger ferry service. So then the next step is to submit a grant applications to study which locations around the bay could be potential stops for the ferry. Next slide. So the 14 counties are divided into 4 different regions, and our region is the western region right now: Baltimore City, Annapolis, Anne Arundel County, Calvert, and St. Mary's. And the state tourism grant, which is the next step for which we would be applying for, those grants are available for up to $250,000 per project. And since there's so much interest in this initiative, each region, we divided into 4 regions so that each region could submit a grant for up to $250,000 to be able to capitalize on the potential funding opportunities to study potential ferry stop locations. Okay, next slide. Right. So the main reason why am I here tonight? We're looking at locations that might be good for a ferry stop access point in Calvert County. So in Calvert, we're looking at North Beach, we're looking at Chesapeake Beach, and we're looking in Solomons. And we are seeking approval to submit potential locations into a grant application to be considered for a study. So we are in the very, very initial stages of all of this. Okay, next slide. So here's our geographic area. We all know the Chesapeake Bay. So these are the 14 counties that are participating in the initial feasibility study. So each one of these 14 counties in this geographic area here are going to have the opportunity to submit potential locations to be looked at as ferry stops. Next slide. So to be considered as a ferry stop location, we are going to need to submit an access point name, the specific GPS coordinates, a description of the site, activities and amenities that are available at each site, and the infrastructure needs that may be necessary at each site. Next slide. So we've got a couple of examples of some counties that have already started looking into this. In Kent County, they're looking at Bogles Wharf, and it provides the GPS coordinates and provides a description of the location. And then you could see some different amenities that are currently available at that spot. And then it acknowledges that the site would need development for ramp access, restroom facilities, ADA compliance and parking, and access to public transportation. So that's the kind of infrastructure needs that these feasibility studies would need to be looking at. Next slide. Okay, here's an example of in Annapolis at the city dock area. Obviously, they already do a lot of different water taxis and different boats that leave from there. So they're a little bit more equipped to already do something like that. So that's one of the stops that Annapolis is going to be submitting. Next slide. Okay, so the next step would be for the town councils of North Beach and Chesapeake Beach to think, and the Board of County Commissioners to think about which stops would be good for potential inclusion in a feasibility study. So the grant that we have to submit is going to be due on August 20th. And this is probably not the end of the grant requests. We'll probably need to apply for additional future grants for any infrastructure needs that might be necessary for each of these stops. So in closing, I just wanted to share that many of our communities were built on maritime travel and are already equipped to implement a passenger ferry service and take advantage of travelers going to their destinations. And we hope that connecting travelers by water will allow them to experience a new and enjoyable method of travel throughout the Chesapeake Bay region and discover new, authentically Chesapeake regions, destinations rich in cultural and recreational activities and experiences. And since, basically vehicle travel came about, the bay has been viewed as a barrier that has to be crossed. But this project really tries to utilize the bay as its greatest connection and its asset. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Also within board docs that residents, individuals can log into, you can see the presentation, plus council has it. And tonight was more just getting Julie here to say, hey, this is a conversation going on right now. Obviously, we would want to have input from residents and so forth, but tonight is just saying, hey, there's a conversation that started. Just want to start moving forward to decide with input from residents what we want to do as a town. So any questions from council?
It's looking to be a passenger ferry, not a vehicular ferry.
Correct.
So
Any idea the size or how many passengers?
Yeah,
Because
about 40 to 50 people is what they're looking at. And I know Annapolis has already identified a potential vessel, and that operates in as little as 6 feet of water.
I actually have a comment on that. So the mean low water off of our pier is 2.9 feet.
Okay.
So that's, potential infrastructure issue. We could dredge 1,000 feet out to deeper water, I suppose. But, we don't have the type of jetty that Chesapeake Beach has,
Mhm.
but we are very close to Chesapeake Beach. So obviously a ferry in Chesapeake Beach would be better than a ferry in Solomons. But that's,
Definitely closer.
Something that I think you all want to look into.
And initially, when we started the feasibility study for the initial grant, we were only going to be allowed to look at 2 to 5 locations in each county. There was going to be limitations on that. And now that we've identified that we can divide into different regions and then apply for additional funding, that leaves the opportunity to have potentially more than 5 stops to be explored. So I just throw that out there as food for thought. And again, we didn't want to dictate where these would be going, potential sites to be looked at. We want input. We don't want anybody to be left out if any town or wants to be included.
fantastic.
would within Calvert County say all 3 locations are great, all 3 get funding? Would they do 3 spots, 1 county, or looking to do 1 per county? Or they like that's still way too early in the game to figure that
Honestly, I
out?
think that sky's the limit at this point in time.
Okay.
We've got the feasibility study right now that's just to see, can we even do a ferry system? And then the next stage is to figure out, what makes the most sense.
Yeah, okay.
And the idea also is it's really exciting because some people worry about traffic from one place to another place, but really we have to keep in mind that anybody that may be coming to Calvert County by way of ferry could be coming from another location within the state. They could be coming from DC. They could be coming from anywhere. And people from Calvert also could be going out. So it goes all different ways. And it's a great way to be able to explore our region. Yes.
So one more question. So, you've talked about it being good for tourism, but is it also being seen as a commuter ferry?
If people want to get
mean-
it on it as a commuter
I
ferry.
mean, like the
there's-
different, New York City, Hudson River, they do this a lot. So would it run year round? Would it run pretty much all day long? Would it go to major metropolitan areas like Baltimore, DC, places where people work?
At this point in time, Baltimore and DC are not, well, let me see, was Baltimore?
I think Baltimore was listed in.
Yeah,
our-
so I mean, Baltimore
Okay.
City.
And Annapolis, obviously, so a lot of people working. Okay,
Right, not DC. So I think that's all options on the table. That's part of what that initial feasibility study is going to
okay,
discover for us.
great. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Do you need word from us before the August 20th deadline or?
So I'm already being asked for what are the GPS coordinates? So I need them before the 20th to be considered.
So we may need to action this tonight, right?
If
No,
it-
there's
it-
time. I mean,
It's more of like our meeting schedule when things line up.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I don't
Well,
see what harm there is just to
just to say.
put our name
hey,
into the
or-
study. I mean, it's a study.
well, we just need to make sure too that, again, the last item there was infrastructure. So, I mean, we could sit here and pick a couple infrastructure issues we have right now that would stop it from coming here. But having said that, I'm comfortable as long as we're not committing, because I do want resident input on this, because though it's 40 to 50 people, they're coming this way, that's great, but what about the 40 to 50 people that go that way in their vehicles and the parking and stuff? We have one of our challenges is parking.
mhm.
And I'm not trying to be narrow-minded, but if they do get to the point where it is a commuter, then there's really zero impact on our tourism. It's just really just traffic for us.
I don't think that anyone's really looking at this as a commuter.
Right.
A commuter option. I mean, people could get on there that way, but I don't think that
Right.
that's what, this is being seen more as destination tourism and to be able to develop the local economies for where these stops are.
All right. I think it's worth the conversation. Obviously, and then get it back into the public's hands so we can start getting feedback from them. But I don't think there's harm saying, listen, just let's start the conversation by committing just to be a part of it, the conversation.
Okay.
I mean, does council have any problems with that? I mean, we're not committing to zero. And again, I just want to get it back to the public.
And then I would just recommend or request that if there is a specific, if you would like to be included, then we'll just sort of have to get GPS coordinates that will be able to be included in the grant application for when it's time to start thinking about what we want to do. And just because it gets submitted as part of the grant application doesn't mean that it'll ultimately end up becoming part of the study, nor if it's part of the study, does it mean it's going to be definitely one of the locations that's selected. So it's
Right.
definitely very,
Yeah, this is
Open.
the initial, do you want to be considered as an
Yes.
option?
Mhm.
So,
Well,
so where?
yeah,
so it sounds like we have Councilman.
I think it's worth throwing our name in the hat and we can probably in-house and staff think of a location with a GPS and figure out a few things to write down that we know of infrastructure concerns we have.
Mhm.
I feel we could probably do that in-house. I see no issue to not throw our name in the hat.
Right.
And we still have time after that to nail down public.
We're good down this end. How about down here? Any
Definitely.
questions?
Let's throw our name into the hat. I have a problem with that. I've got GPS here if you want to know.
Yeah.
Where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, no, I got it here too.
Councilmember Dotson.
Well, I think we need to have it
Any
on the water.
questions?
Oh, this part.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little tardy. Had to get some work done. I caught part of your presentation and I looked through this. I think it's a great idea, but considering we have Chesapeake Beach right next door that already has everything that's needed, I would prefer that we're not included in this. It's gonna cost something if we have to do this. And I necessarily don't want to see more people coming into town. I know that not exactly what you guys want to hear, but I prefer to just let Chesapeake Beach take this one on the chin.
All right, so obviously we have 5 council members want to at least put our name on the list, not that it's going to move forward with anything, and then we have 1 council member. So let's call for a vote.
Okay.
Let's call for a vote to at least move forward in the conversation. And then at the end, it might end up definitely Chesapeake Beach or not at all. So make a
Um,
motion.
Yeah, move to put our name and get information together for your grant process that you need.
Second.
Second, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor or any against?
Yes.
All right, and all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, 5-1, so we'll get you some information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jolie, for coming.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right, let's move right into the public safety. Come up to the microphone, please. And the report is in there again for residents. It's on board docs that you can access. You can see the reports that we receive and all the documentation. So anyone have any questions about the 2 reports that are submitted from our sheriff's department?
Where was the unfortunate overdose?
It was at, I believe it's called Chesapeake Manor now. It's the Old Stones
Okay.
Motel.
Okay.
Give you more details on it.
No,
if you want
that's
after, but-
Just trying to figure out if it was,
Overall, I want to thank you. I know we had some challenges. It was, Phil's out in the audience here who oversees the waterfront. I think y'all did an amazing job. We had a First Friday event. We have the Saturday morning farmer's market, and we had the beach normal crowd, and then we had 4th of July fireworks. And overall, very little incidents. So
Yeah, we had one arrest for marijuana use on the July 3rd fireworks. And that was it. Other than that, it was smooth as can be. So couldn't be happier about that.
any questions for
I just have a quick question. So, my computer just died on me, but your report, there were like 7 or 8 different, incidents that were reported. Do you have the dates for those? Handy or,
I don't have them handy, but I could get them to you
Okay.
in no time.
okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
Let's move right into the treasury report. Joe, microphone.
Treasurer's report is for the month of May. The beginning balance in the general fund is 108,000. Total debits is 316,000 and total credits is 281,000. It's 143,000 in checking, and MLGIP general is 2,895,000. Sewer capital and MLGIP is 89,000 and MLGIP water is 43. ARPA funds are 1,005,000. Total cash available to the town of North Beach for the month of May is 4,177,000. We've received hotel tax, which is tremendous for the month of, it covered a little more than the month of May, but it was $11,245, which was the largest sum yet at one time. And you have your debits and or your cash receipts and payments over 7,500 listed.
Thank you. Any questions, council? Again, these reports are online for all residents to view. We're good? All right. DB, I know you've been busy running around.
A little bit. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to bring the council up to speed on a project that we've been working on for probably, me and the mayor were talking the other day, 4 years maybe. So, but we did have our kickoff, in-person kickoff meeting with the Bayland Consultants, and that's for the grant that we were awarded by DNR for the $80,000 grant to do the compound flood study for the town. We had some members in the audience of the flood committee. They were there at the meeting. Consultants came down. I thought we had a great in-person meeting here at Town Hall. We went over a lot of the projects that we have going on right now. We gave them a list, gave them some bullet points, laid out everything that we've been working on in the last 4 or 5 years up into the Fifth Street pump station even, so they could not have to reinvent the wheel. So we tried to go over all the projects, were current, whatever. They seemed to be very competent, very attentive. They were well prepared for the meeting. After the meeting in the council chambers here, we actually went out and we walked pretty much the whole town. We went down, it was a little warm out that day, but we left, went down to the waterfront, and we showed them, as you, all the council know from living in town, the problem areas. But we also went all the way down to the berm. We showed them the berm that had been built back in 2015, kind of laid out what that was doing for the town, how it helped, how it hurt, went over plus and minuses for that. And then we also went back 8th Street all the way back to Greenwood Avenue and walked 7th and Greenwood all the way down to 5th Street. Went through the alley there to show them a potential green space, the alley that we have, the Greenwood Avenue from 3rd to 5th. We actually walked that, showed them that's the type of property we might have to be available for treatment type, design, build treatment type things to hold stormwater, slow it down from the county. We went over, we had 49 acres in Calvert County that drains through that area. So we went over that. They had Eastern Shore Co-op did the maps for the study. So they have been already done and provided to Bayland. They're coming out. The next step, well, this was the first party information gathering. So now what they're going to do for the next couple of months is gather all the information about the town, go out, shoot grades on the existing stormwater boxes, look at everything, bring their engineering surveying crew down, walk the town. So if you see them out walking around, they'll have, badges on, they'll be identified. I'll let Dawn know. They're going to let me know a couple of days or maybe a week ahead of time. So they will be out and about town in the next couple of months, looking under every rock, every street corner, looking around everywhere. We showed them, small, big examples as the flooding on 5th Street when it rains that everybody knows and it's obvious. But we also showed them the areas where water comes down from outside of the town and runs across the yards. It's not directed in any fashion. It'll hit a low spot and take out somebody's yard. So we showed them, a little bit, pretty much everything. And they were very, very attentive, took pictures already. And Councilwoman Cavler was here. So I don't know if you'd like to add anything to that, but I thought it was a great start to
yeah.
hopefully successful, can build our plan, finally get our plan and radar priorities and be successful and start looking for other grants.
Yeah. So I just, a couple points. It was a really exciting meeting. We've been working for a long time to do this. And this is the first time I had met Megan and Anna in person. They're the two project leads for this study. Anna's a coastal engineer. She was trained in the Netherlands, so couldn't be a better place to be trained to deal with flooding. And she's assigned, she's going to focus on addressing our coastal sources of flooding. And then Megan is a stormwater engineer, and she's assigned to addressing our stormwater sources of flooding. So that, to me, I mean, that's a great team, because as you all know, there's two different sources of flooding here that are in North Beach. Another thing about grants, Sasha Land, she's a flood planner at DNR. She actually came and sat in on this meeting as well, and she's actually instrumental in helping us get the grant to fund this study. She is also our primary contact on these state managed flood grants. So she provided some interesting information related to grants. First, she alerted us to what are called acquisition grants. And maybe you all are familiar with those, but this was the first time I'd heard about acquisition grants. And we can use funds for acquisition grants to purchase property, to purchase land. And as far as flooding is concerned, one potential fix is if you have land, you have a place to store and capture the flood waters. This town, we don't have a lot of land where we can do that. So obviously acquisition grants are good for addressing flooding, but those of you who are working on other projects, you might find that information interesting as well. She also emphasized that now is the time to apply for hard infrastructure grants for flood mitigation or other hard infrastructure. There's a ton of money out there. This is kind of a once in a lifetime thing, unprecedented. Because we were talking a little bit about, we can't raise a road, regrade a road, put out big jetties, it's so expensive. And she said, no, this is the time. This is the time that we apply for the big FEMA money, the big NOAA money for the jetties, the revetments, the pumps, et cetera. So I thought that was good information as well. So as you mentioned, the flood committee will be working hard along with Joe over the next 6 months or so to apply for a lot of these flood grants that are coming down the pipe.
She actually, to add a little bit to that, she actually pointed out to the Bayland consultants while they were here, if they saw something to move that up the list. So, their study starts now. They're due rough draft to us in December and the final draft in April. But if they see a problem or see an issue, Sasha from DNR told them to move that up so we can be ready to submit that grant earlier. We don't have to wait till that April deadline or April final plan. We can start working on the grant, and they could take their team, split off and start concentrating, focusing on that so we can get a 30% concept plan or whatever we need to qualify for that grant, even, as early as, next month, or the way they were talking, like as soon as possible. So I thought it was a very good meeting, like saying, it went well. And another good thing, Bayland, they do everything in-house, so they don't have to sub out. They have all their own, they have drones, have all their own engineers, have a pump station team. So pretty much they're it. They don't have to rely on other. So I think it'll go pretty quick. I think it'll go well, and looking forward to it. Does the council have any questions? Or?
His report is in there. There's a lot more projects going on, but just realize it did take us 4 years, but we're finally going to get a grant, or we're going to get a plan starting on Greenwood and going east, which is huge. So I'm excited about that. I look forward to it. So any other questions for Donnie before we move on? I'm going to circle back around real quick because we have to do some housekeeping. We were not able to vote. I'm going to go back to the minutes of the June 9th, 2022 town council meeting. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the June 9th, 2022 minutes as presented. May I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. I know any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And we have 2 abstain because they were not here, Councilmember John Cone and Councilwoman Lawton. So we have a 4-2 or 4-0-2. Thank you so much. Rick, back in the back row. So code enforcement and zoning, his report is also included for everybody to review, but is there something you want to that stood out the last 30 days you want to pass on, or?
I think the biggest thing is working out the towing with the sheriff's department has worked out well. So
Good.
3 or 4 of the vehicles that were problems within a week, we are now gone, so.
Thank you.
Miraculously, none of them had to be towed. We put stickers and sent letters for months and months. Sheriff's Department put one tag on, and in 3 days, they decided it was time to leave.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All
And all of the ones in Burn Oaks are now gone,
right, good.
so you won't hear from whoever that gentleman is anymore.
Well, that's good. We hate to do it, but it's needed. We do have some individuals that just like to push the envelope, but Rick's report is inside of board docs for everybody to review. Does anybody have any questions for Rick before we move on?
I have one, but I'll send it to you in email. It's not important.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. Marketing, Dawn.
Hello.
Hello.
I uploaded my report a little late today, so I apologize if you haven't seen it. So I want to mention that the town of North Beach was on Channel 4 News, NBC4's The Scene segment. They said, sink your toes in the water in North Beach, Maryland, just 30 minutes outside of DC. There's not much wave action though, so it's great for the little ones. So that was exciting to see us on Channel 4. I'll also mention we took North Beach soap to Ocean City for the Maryland Municipal League Conference, and everyone loved it. So hopefully North Beach soap will see some people there that attended the conference with us. And lastly, I just want to remind everyone, we recently sent out an email blast, stay in the know. That means like get in the know, subscribe to our email blast, text notifications, things like that. Since June 1st, we've sent out 34 email blasts. You probably get all those and overlook some of them. But if you're out around town and people are saying they're not aware or they heard or something like that, encourage them to sign up on our website for those email blasts and texts. Are there
Absolutely.
any questions?
You know, many hats that Dawn wears, but the outreach is huge to residents. If you go to the post office, you'll see our quarterlies that come to town hall. We do our best to be as transparent, but also to get the information out to our residents and our guests. And I want to thank you for that because the numbers are very large. For 2,000 residents, we have a lot of people on our social media, and our daily hit, I think, is like 1,000 a day on our website.
Yeah.
So businesses should be extremely excited about our website.
Oh, and I did want to mention, Veronica's here. She'll probably talk later, but there's some changes down there on Bay Avenue. I'm sure you guys have seen, so.
Yes, a lot of good changes, interesting, great changes. So any other questions for Dawn before we move on? Oh, all right, Dawn, thank you so much.
Thanks.
The community conservation report is included. So please take a look at that. Do you have any questions? Reach out to Lisa. What's that?
I'm here. Just in case.
Okay. Oh, she's on Zoom.
Yes.
All right, just review one item real quick.
I wanted to review the attachment I sent out to everybody about our new Mason Bee art project where we created in Sunrise Garden, Mark Fraser Sunrise Garden. So check it out. It's very neat. It's on the back fence. We put it up during the Pollinator Palooza.
Fantastic. Get by there and take a look at it. A lot of changes to the pond. You've seen the last couple of days. So exciting things going on in the park. So thank you. Any questions for Lisa? Her report is included. Well, yep, it's included. Take a look at it and please reach out to her. Thank you, Lisa. All right,
Thank you.
Phil.
I don't really have anything for the group. Everything down at the Welcome Center has been going pretty well. If anything, I'd just like to invite everybody to come out and see the movie tomorrow night at dusk, Ray of the Last Dragon.
Saturday.
Saturday, yeah, I think.
Yeah, I had to get Jody today. It's like, it's not tomorrow. I got to work.
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Any questions for Phil? I know I see a lot of you down there by the waterfront, so you probably talk to him throughout the week. It is very active. We're getting a lot of activity down there, and his staff, we have a lot of new staff members. Things are going very well down there. So thank you. Keep it. I truly appreciate how you're taking care of the flower pots. They have become a life of their own. But if you look at our flower pots, they are booming. They look wonderful. we.
Hand waters them every morning at 6:30 a.m.
Yes.
I see them.
There's only 58 of them, so I'm not sure why that's a problem. Not good. Any other questions? Nope.
How are the staff doing with the gates and people processing through any problems or?
No, with the changes, no, not at all. It's
Okay.
starts going very smoothly and they just report it back in and we'll just record it. So.
Okay,
it's going
cool.
well. Yeah, no problems.
Yes, we made the change that residents go to the gates. They don't have to go to the welcome center to get, they still need to wear a wristband because that's how we track how many residents. So we know if what we're doing is working, getting more residents back to the beach, but they don't need to wait in those long lines. They just go right to the gate, show their pass. And as long as their guests are with them, they all get on, no problem. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Winding down to public comments. The town of North Beach welcomes public comment. The public is welcome to type your comment in the chat box. Or if you're attending, please come to the microphone, say your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes and let us know, what you like to pass on. Is there anybody in the audience that want to say? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sharon DiMaggio. I live at 4032 9th Street. And thank you for allowing me to speak. I've lived in North Beach almost 6 years and I love it. It's great to live here. We're fortunate not to have a lot of serious crime in our neighborhood. However, this year in particular, myself and several other residents that frequent the boardwalk and beach areas have noticed some concerns we'd like to make you aware of in efforts to prevent the town from experiencing a downward spiral potentially and resulting in the family-friendly town not being so enjoyable. First 3 years of living in North Beach, a deputy was present for several hours at the Welcome Center, generally between 5 and 9 throughout the week. Law enforcement presence was a deterrent for those who considered not following rules of the beach and boardwalk. This year, I've personally noticed a significant increase in violations, and so have other residents. Enough so that some have expressed they'll only come to the boardwalk Monday through Thursday. Several residents have become friends and acquaintances and have shared what they've personally experienced. On behalf of several residents, I'd like to make you aware of the following and want you to know, although it may not be consistently reported, the following is occurring. And so may I hand you a printout?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Make sure we get the waterfront manager one.
So on the handout, there's the bulleted items. And then at the very bottom is the actual beach boardwalk and conduct rules from the website. And you'll notice from the list, from the website, I've highlighted areas that we're witnessing. And then the bulleted list up top, if you see, there will be some extra items too that aren't on that list that are concerning. So it's just myself here this evening. The other residents are more than happy at any time. If you want more information on some of those items that are on that bulleted list, if you reach out, they will gladly speak to you if you have any direct questions about anything in particular. But we did have a recent incident where many of us witnessed something on the beach we were not comfortable with. And, and then we all started talking and then just it spiraled with what's been observed, but not shared necessarily. So Lieutenant Hollinger, he and I talked recently and he's very supportive of doing anything, of course, that he can do to help. And one of the biggest things that is an issue is people don't want to speak up a lot of times. So if we don't, everyone thinks everything's okay. So just in brainstorming suggestions, I know Lieutenant Hollinger said, he's doing he's looking into maybe some more increased walking on the boardwalk and so forth. But that presence was such a deterrent in the past and so helpful. And something that we were talking about was maybe more signs and reminders upon entry to the beach, because sometimes it's really out of hand. And email and social media announcements, possibly reminding residents and visitors to report violations that make them uncomfortable, because some of these to some people aren't an issue at all. And these aren't just things, these are just, it's a collective list of what we've witnessed. And so not all of them pertain just to what I've witnessed and so forth, but some things are more important to others that make them uncomfortable and so forth. Also at the playground, that's included there. And then another suggestion is maybe some kind of bystander intervention for residents and staff, beach staff, that might help them. Like there's different things that people can do. Is my time up?
No, you're good, good.
You know, some is direct intervention, some is a distraction, some is to document, some is delayed. You know, there's different things you can do, whether you or delegate for someone else, go to someone in higher authority. Maybe something like that could be helpful. So I thank you for your time.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And going through the list with, obviously, I speak to Phil almost every day down there, and some of these things we have addressed already. And when you have 75 to 100,000 people come here, we're going to continue to evolve and figure out the best way to oversee and make things happen. But just so you know, and let everybody else know, if they're down there, we do have leadership down there. Police officers are 1 minute away. If they want to just let us know, we do our best to see, but we don't. I mean, there's challenges. So we appreciate this. This will be addressed, and you'll see in the coming weeks. And even as we wind down the season, because our season really is right around Labor Day. That's when you see the beach numbers go down to really small numbers. So I think you'll see some changes and improvements as we continue to move forward. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello.
Thank you so much. All right.
Hello.
Is there somebody on?
I was on the call also. I was just going to piggyback, Mike, what she said. That has been a conversation that's taken place in the neighborhood, and I'm just on 3rd Street. But I've heard a lot of the community actually say the same, and I'm not privy to seeing what her list has, but I've been here actually almost 10 years, and this is the first year I've ever heard the community complain about what's taking place on the boardwalk this season and at the beach. Just so she can feel like they're not the only ones talking about it.
Absolutely, Carmen. We do it. We will address. We will continue to address. We will take this serious. I'll get with the sheriff's department. We'll continue to come up with solutions. I think it's been exacerbated coming out of the couple of years that we had COVID, and we've seen a massive increase. And with the new laws changing when it comes to marijuana stuff, people are just more just out there, and we will continue to address. We'll get through the hiccups this year, and then we'll implement as we go forward. But please let us know. The more we know, the more we can do. So please let us know. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's also just a quick note. These types of things have been discussed by staff and council and the mayor before. It has also been part of the discussion about Friday night farm market, or what we're calling it now, the first Fridays, but that whole thing of, we've got camps of people that in some cases want it every Friday, and those that don't want it at all. So these types of things have been coming up and are appreciated from feedback perspective, so we can continue to make the best decision moving forward related to that.
Absolutely. And if you want to come up, please state your name, your address.
My name is Matthew McRoberts. I live at 3906 3rd Street. I want to acknowledge first with the sheriff's department. This is a town that I have never felt as safe to have my kids in. But talking about parking and community well-being, community happiness, I really want to address handicap parking in the town. We've lost a few handicap parking down by the Welcome Center. And I've kind of become the town pariah. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I've got my father-in-law from the Ukraine living with us who has severe Parkinson's disease from working at Chernobyl. Half the time he's in a wheelchair. We go to the post office and inevitably, especially at the post office, people just don't care. And I've been called four-letter words. I've been asked if I'm the town tattletale. I don't mind speaking up as a 25-year Army veteran. I'm polite. Sir, ma'am, do you realize you're parked in a handicapped parking zone? Today, one woman was like, oh, I didn't realize. How did you not realize you're in the middle of a blue parking spot and you've got a handicap placard, parking in front of you? By the time we call the sheriff's department, of course, they're gone. One day I sat there for 10 minutes outside of the handicap parking and counted 4 people that parked there. And they really don't care. One day it was the UPS driver because it was raining and he had to deliver packages to the post office. As I understand, was it Chapter 108, code enforcement of the town can issue citations. And I know the sheriff's department is very active on the boardwalk, but I would really appreciate increased enforcement along, as you've got the Sunrise Gardens, access to the boardwalk and the post office, and the one spot behind in the community parking. That's pretty much it now for handicap parking. With the demographics of North Beach and the surrounding area, we've got a lot of elderly, military, and disabled. I would appreciate an increased focus on, and unfortunately, it's going to take tickets. It's going to take a $300 fine and residents talking to each other and saying it's not worth the ticket and it's just not right. So for what it's worth, I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. And again, it'll be another item we've talked many times about. And we've actually sat down there and same thing with crosswalks we're working on. So yes.
If I can follow up, one of the things that I've actually found is other jurisdictions have, for lack of a better word, deputized residents that are handicapped, train them and authorize them to issue citations only for disabled parking. And when you've got a person in a wheelchair or a person with a disabled placard writing a citation that's authorized by the sheriff's department, it's kind of, what do you say to a person in a wheelchair issuing a citation?
We need to look into that. All right. Anything from the council before we move on? Thank you. You'll hear from me. All right. Any other comments? Thank you so much. Let's move on to ordinances and resolutions. This was extensively discussed at the work session. And if you saw the communication back and forth, I believe that we are at a point with a couple more changes, but we will be voting on this tonight. So I'm gonna end up calling for a motion to get into discussion to discuss a couple items. From there, we will make the changes, vote on the changes, and then move forward.
And then move it as an emergency.
Yes.
And then.
Yes. Yes. So when I was talking to Stacy today, going over the agenda today, we talked about that. So the first vote we're going to do is a motion to approve it as an emergency ordinance. And then we're going to call for another vote to approve it as written, which will then go into discussion. And then we'll make those changes. The first one is approving it as an emergency ordinance.
Move to pass ordinance 22-04 as an emergency ordinance.
At first, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so that's moved. Now, the emergency has been approved ordinance. Now we're going to go into the actual ordinance. I'm going to call for a vote. And then we'll get to discussion. Then we're going to talk about a couple changes.
Move to approve ordinance 22-04.
We move, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
On my end, I'm good with it as written. So
Okay, I was informed of 3 questions within here, simple ones, I promise you, I promise you. Some of them are like Captain Obvious stuff. First of all, thank you so much. The amount of communication, the work session, this document, you guys really invested a lot of time to make sure it's what we need. And with the election coming up, there's no better time. So if we can just turn to page 2. Go down to item 3. Excuse me, 4, item 4. I've read this so many times, I get confused. All right. Has been recommended or requested to have a discussion. And this is the one that you were talking about on 4. Isn't this the treasurer must maintain the treasurer's primary residence in the state of Maryland and must be a registered state voter at the time of appointment and through the date of the election as to which the treasurer has been appointed. Stacy, step in here. We just went over there.
Currently, it states that the treasurer for a candidate must live within town limits. The question being that is raised is, can any individual who lives in the state of Maryland be a treasurer for a candidate within the town election?
I truly don't see a problem with it. I mean, it's not like people are lining up to fight to be a treasurer on someone's campaign. But where is that on here now? Now I have highlighted. Show it to me.
we were talking about number 4.
Number 4.
A4.
Page 2, number 4.
Oh, yes. All right, go ahead.
Should this stay as state of Maryland?
All right, so the treasurer must maintain the treasurer's primary residence in the state of Maryland, which I think,
Fair.
I mean,
I-
anybody
yeah,
anybody have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem. Feel like historically it was town North Beach to link to there's somebody else in town who thinks you should be running for the position you're running for, and they support you by being treasurer. I don't see an issue with it being state of Maryland. I just feel that was the historical background on why it was somebody, like why it was a North Beach resident and voter.
All right, so leaving the state of Maryland, that you have the final email to you. We're good with that? The second part of that, and must be a registered state voter at the time of appointment and through the date of the election. Do we want to keep that in there?
Yes.
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 Hope you're writing this down because we're gonna have to make a motion to make these changes.
I'm sorry, what do we do?
So, ready?
Yeah,
We're gonna keep it in here as state of Maryland on number 4.
it didn't say.
It said town. We're going to change it to state.
It
of
did
Mar-
say town,
Did,
Right.
yes.
but the one that I printed.
Yeah,
says
the
state.
version on board docs.
Okay.
says
Yeah,
state.
it has the changes on it. That's
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all clear. So we're gonna leave that, we're gonna make that change.
To be clear, should we make a motion to amend and just make sure we get it right?
A few other.
We have
things.
3 of them.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, I'm
three
just
others.
wondering, do
We-
them all
we should-
together or once? I don't know.
Stacy, what's easier for you if we knock each one out?
Let's do them all together, make all the
together?
changes.
And fine.
Okay.
So number 1 is that. All right, number 2. Sorry. We'll be done. All right, number 2 that I have is on the same page, 2. It's under C2. And at the last sentence, a candidate for town office may not serve as the candidate's own treasurer. Or act as a treasurer or of any other candidate within the town. Like if they want to be a treasurer for somebody running for Congress, kind of down where what Ken was saying, all we want to do is say they just can't do it in the town. Like they can't be a treasurer for two election or two candidates.
In town, in the town election.
But if they want to be they want to be a treasurer for somebody outside of the town, I mean, I don't think that's a problem.
That makes sense.
So we just need to add in the town on what's here on board docs,
Yes.
correct?
Within the town,
elective office at the end of.
correct.
All right, that's two. You ready, Mickey? He has a memory. You won't forget. All right.
I'm making notes on this.
All right, number three, the final one that I have in front of me, unless I don't believe anybody else has any other changes. Number three, page three. Go down to
5A,
what is that? A
5A.
5A.
And this was your comment, and I'm not sure it was cleared up.
I think you did clear it up for me.
Well, I'm not sure actually I addressed your full question, because what
Okay.
I said was, there's no reason that you can't make corporations disclose their identity when they make contributions. But the part I don't think I addressed is whether or not this prevents people from making independent campaign expenditures unrelated to a relationship with a candidate. And that's not what this is intended to do. I agree that we can't restrict that. But this is the provision that says, if a candidate can't sort of have people make payments and on his or her behalf, outside of the campaign. This is the provision that requires all of those contributions and expenditures to go through the treasurer.
We'll read it real quick. I made a note. So, except as set forth in subsection B of this section, no person other than the candidate. This is where I don't understand why it's here. No person other than the candidate shall contribute any item of value to support or defeat any candidate in any town election, except to the candidate or the candidate's treasurer.
Right, because the candidate can spend money on his or her own
Give money
own
to
behalf,
yourself.
right? That's not covered by this.
Paragraph 3.
And then if you see paragraph C addresses the independent expenditures.
Okay.
Right? So it accepts from that prohibition, this idea that you can't totally on your own go and send flyers without coordinating with a candidate. Once you coordinate with a candidate, that's not an independent expenditure.
Okay. The only reason why I brought it up is dealing with and this is much more on the federal than it is here, honestly, people, because we were not going to be spending too much on this, is where it's the coordination issue, is that if you have independent quote organizations of someone who may not like particular candidates, but are not running themselves, want to do an independent one of just trying to, and I think it may be happening here in the county, not sure, of independent expenditures to derail and someone else's candidacy without being a candidate themselves. I think that's allowed under law, just under law. But
How can you stop them?
You can't. No, I'm just saying.
Right,
but
so
we
why
can't
even
stop it.
discuss it?
Well, I wanted to make sure that's not, if the reading of this is that doesn't prevent that, I'm perfectly fine. But if it does make a reading that it does limit people who are independent of themselves and don't like the particular candidates, they should be allowed to.
I think it reads that nobody, well, excuse me, only the candidate and the treasurer. I mean, this to me says that you can't do it.
You can do it, because if you look at C,
See,
hold on one second. I lost.
this is why campaign finance reform is one of the driest, boringest things ever.
All right,
If you look at
go
the
to
second
C. Go ahead and read
sentence-
C.
The second sentence of section 5C, it says, nor does not the second sentence, but the end of it. Nor does anything in this section preclude any person from expressing personal views on any subject, provided that coincident with such statement or advertising, that person gives notice that it was paid political advertisement.
Then I'm satisfied.
Right?
As long as it's disclosed and identified, yes.
Okay.
If they could say bad things about me, great,
So we're just not going to touch A. We're going to leave it the way it is. Correct. All right. We have two changes. So we have a motion on the floor. We have first, we have a second, we're in discussion. We've offered up two changes.
All right, let's see if I do this right. Move to amend so that on page 2, under section A, number 4, we change town to say state of Maryland. And then the second change is on page 2, section C, number 2, we put for town elected of office at the end.
All right, so we have a motion to amend. Do I have a second?
Yes.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank goodness. All right. I want everybody to read it. No, all right. Let's move on to business items.
No, we're not done yet.
Oh, excuse me. No, I was so excited about being done with that.
Now we actually have to vote on it.
Yes. So we need a motion to
Motion to approve, whichever one this is.
Emergency
as amended.
ordinance.
Emergency, its title as amended.
Second.
At first, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We done now, Stacy? All right. All right, let's move on to the outfall business item. I'm going to turn this over to Donnie and to Joanne. Joanne sent out the email to everybody. We discussed this. It's time to award, but what we need to do first is I want her to, Joanne, to explain the budget adjustment.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll do a little house cleaner while we're showing the budget adjustment. Last week, he had mentioned $110,000 difference. But when Donnie and I sat down and went over everything, there was an item in there for $10,000 in engineering fees that needs to be included. So what's cleaner, and it was in the wording, the notes, but not indicated on the sheet, that the 125 that was originally budgeted in the capital was for 9th and 5th Streets. But we both know that that's not going to cover 5th Street. So I thought the cleanest thing to do would be to separate the two, number one. The 25,000 that you now see in the adjusted column is for 9th Street Pump Station. The 316,000 that you see for the 5th Street Pump Station includes the 100,000 that we took from the previous item, that was 125. The 95,000 for the grant, which I did not incorporate into my capital budget, making that adjustment. And then the $121,000 increase to the overall budget for 5th Street, making the total project cost for 5th Street $316,700. And where it was 110 last week, it works out to 111 this week plus the 10, making it 121. If that clears it up.
Any questions? You know about the project? RFP went out.
No, the 10,000, as y'all know, is for the engineering firm that came in that was required by the MDE grant people. So, and I was drawn, last week, I didn't have the exact numbers of the budget. We did have a contract amount, but I didn't have the exact numbers in the budget. So I sat down with Joe Friday to make sure. So that it was, we said, I think 113, 110 last week, but it's 121, right, or whatever.
Any
So that would
questions?
be additional.
Any questions?
And Joanne, where is the 121 coming out of?
The reserve.
The reserve. Okay.
Tonight, we need to vote on the budget adjustment,
We have to award the contract first though, right? 'Cause that
award the
finalizes.
contract, and then we're going
Yes,
to
sir.
vote on the budget adjustment.
So the amount that they bid it
adjustment
was
can't be the contract.
278,915, correct?
Yes,
And then we're doing a 10%
contingency.
contingency. Okay.
And we can finally address it down there. So it's good news. All right, so what we were given last week and what we talked about, what you have in your bid package, we have a memo from Department of Public Works on their recommendation. So in there, Donnie, go ahead and speak about that real quick.
We had 5 firms actually turn in bids for the project. Tri-Phase Services was the low bidder at 278,940 or whatever exact number it was.
15, yeah.
Yeah, 915. They did provide 3 references. I stated at the work session. I called all 3. They got very good references, above and beyond kind of references, not just good, but kind of above and beyond. So I feel confident. They're pretty local. They're in College Park, Maryland. They did similar type work that we're asking them to do here. And they're pairing up with a mechanical contractor that has did work for us in the past. So I feel comfortable that they could do the project, pretty small project in the scope of things. But it will be big to the town to get those in and a big help with the rainwater flooding at Fifth Street.
All right, so we need a motion to award the North Beach Flood Pump Equipment Project on Fifth Street to Tri-Phase Electric for the bid amount of $278,915.
Move to approve. Second.
First, we have a second. Any discussion before we call for a vote?
Yeah. On the spreadsheet here, it just says 278,900, not 915.
That's correct. And the spreadsheet's correct.
You said 900.
You have the.
Yeah, but the bid
bid's
says
915.
278,915.
That's correct.
The budget says 900.
915 is the correct number.
Okay. Then we need to make sure the budget reflects the correct amount.
Yep, absolutely. Good catch. All right, so we have any other discussion? No. All right. Do we, all in favor of approving the bid to Tri-Phase, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now let's go to the budget amendment. So let's get to that. So now we need a motion to, what is the, so we're at 915 says $15 difference, right? That's $121,715, correct? All right, can I have a motion to amend the capital improvement budget for $121,715 to fully fund this project out of our reserves?
So moved.
So move. Got a
Second.
second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Get on it, Donnie.
Thank you, council. Appreciate that. Now, we have to still forward that to MD for final approval that the bid was done the correct way and the council has voted to do the project. And that'll be done Monday, I hope.
All right, keep us in the loop. Make sure you let us know so I can let council know. All right, I'm gonna move right into the council reports, and I'd like to start with Mickey.
It's awesome to see so many people in the audience. Thank you all for coming. Other than that, as Phil mentioned earlier, we have a movie this Saturday. We're going to start at dusk, which is probably somewhere around 8:50 for when it's dark enough to actually see the movie. So I generally have something up beforehand, which lets me gauge when I start it, if I can read it and see what I'm showing, that it's time for the movie. Other than that, hopefully see everybody out there for that, and then I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming. I'm not going to say much. I think I spoke enough tonight. I do want to thank those of you who provided public comment. It's much appreciated. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you for everyone coming out. I'll just amend what Mickey said. I'm glad to see somebody out in the audience today. I attended the Drink Maryland, which was wonderfully attended. It was very quiet. I don't believe there were any particular problems at Drink Maryland either. And it was such a beautiful day. And I'm always looking forward to going to that. And everyone enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. I feel like every month I'm up here and I'm talking about almost being done with the IT modernization, but we're almost done with the IT modernization. There's a couple of things we just finished up over the last month. basically transitioning our main file server. And then you've probably seen that the water billing has been transitioned. We've got a couple of other minor things floating out there, but other than that, we've completely revamped the IT systems here from the town over the past 4 years, and it's almost done. I think the mayor has one or two other things he wants to look into when it comes to cameras and modernizing some of that infrastructure as well, but we're just about done. I also want to throw just a shout out to Lee, Jan, and Will, who, as many of you may know, ran the West Lawn Inn for 18 years here in North Beach, and just recently finished up and kind of closed their doors. A lot of great memories there. So just wanted to kind of give them a shout out and say thank you for all of their service to the town, really. I actually proposed my wife on North Beach and then walked over there for dinner after that at West Lawn. So just one of the great memories of that, and they'll be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you for mentioning that about the West Lawn. I know I spent a lot of time down there, definitely missed the place, but also, Sharon, thank you for coming and saying what you had to say, and sir, you as well. I did speak with the lieutenant about some of the issues here the other day, and he did mention that he was going to increase the patrol with some of the deputies walking the boardwalk a lot more, and I have seen a couple down there. So I will say this. This is not to badmouth any previous deputies that were here in charge, but Joe does take action, and things do seem to happen. So I'm happy about that. So if you see something, say something, please, because if they don't know, they can't take action. So just wish everyone a happy, safe, cool weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I did not, I probably could have done a little earlier, but in the past for me as mayor over the last 3 years, when it comes to our August meeting, because a lot of council members on vacation, a lot of residents are on vacation, it's that time of year. We have not held the meeting in August. I would like to openly throw it out there. I would like to proceed with that as something we do this year, unless something prior comes up, there has to be a meeting. Obviously, we're going to have a meeting. We're never not going to have a meeting, but typically the last 3 years we have been fine with it. And I like to put it out to council to see if that is something they support. And I'll leave it at that.
I'm okay not having an August meeting, but again, as you said, if something comes up,
Absolutely.
I'm also okay totally coming here and having the meeting.
Absolutely. We would be here quickly.
Or moving it to a day where, like, if we're trying to bounce around vacations, we can have it that day too. So
I don't think you're getting any objections from that. And again, like you said, if something comes up, we'll be here.
We'll be here.
No objections from me, and plus I'll be on vacation.
Yes, I don't mind to be called as needed
All right.
for that month.
Same. You too. All right.
Yes, sir.
I don't need to. Same. Well, it's not an official vote. It's just, I want to put it out in front of the town and residents so they see what we talk about. So I think that's it. Stacy doesn't have anything left on my agenda here. So we're at a point now. Can I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So move.
So second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So move. Thank you so much for coming.
Yes.